Hey, how's it going? This is Matthew Walter, and we are here on the Visionary Mindset podcast, where we're going to be talking with people who have a powerful plan for growth in the future. Some things we're going to be talking about is being focused on your specific vision, investing time into building relationships, and your plan to keep moving forward. So our first guest is Eric Rebelo, and we're going to jump right in and get to know you. So why don't you tell us some things about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Eric. I have a digital marketing and online advertising firm that basically just helps your service business grow. Basically, no matter what industry or niche or anything like that you're in, we use Facebook ads and Google ads and SEO and website design, all that type of stuff to try and scale, try and get you more clients, and just, again, help your business grow. That's basically what I do.
Very nice. And when did you know you wanted to take an entrepreneurial path?
Well, it started kind of around the time when you get frustrated with certain like 9-to-5 things. I feel like is when you want to start entrepreneurship.
Totally.
So for me, it started like a long time ago, probably in high school, where I got like a little bit of an inkling feeling of people were telling me that I should try and do my own business or something like that, but I don't come from that type of background. My parents have no idea really how to run their own business. My dad could maybe manage, but like he's more of like get a salary job, go to college, get a good education, make money there.
Yeah.
And that's the path that I was on for a while, where I was going to go to school for computer science, and then I changed it to like a different type of computer thing, and then changed it to general business. And then by that point, I was like, might as well just start a business. Like I don't need to get let me just learn by myself. So yeah, like around 17, 18, it started to get into that point where I was like, okay, like maybe there's something there that I could go ahead and do like my own business. But again, I was so doubtful of myself. I wasn't confident in my abilities because I'd never run a business before. My parents didn't like really set me up for that necessarily. They set me up for that different path that I feel like a lot of people are on, where it's college and then job.
Yeah.
So around that time, people keep telling me, but I kept telling them no, like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to college and do this. But I was just like unhappy that entire time. Like I had different jobs that I was doing, and I was going to like, community college and everything because it's less expensive. Tip for anybody out there, at least for the first, 2 years, and then you transfer if you're going to do that. But when I was in college, there was nothing that I was really passionate about, like in college. Like when the only thing I was really passionate about was like psychology.
Okay.
And then there was an accounting class that I was really passionate about because of the teacher, not actually because of the material. I think I like barely passed that class. I don't even remember. But the accountant person that was teaching us, he actually just wasn't an accountant. He had a 7-figure business. So that's why I loved that class.
Like, what do I do?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, why do you teach community college? And he's like, oh, I just love it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, props to you. Like, that's awesome. But, and nobody actually in the class wanted to hear him talk about accounting. They just wanted to hear him because he ran a locker business. So like
renting.
No. So like, I guess they manufactured lockers and then they would
sell them to schools and
whoever, big, construction companies or whatever. I guess they need lockers and stuff, but it was a 7-figure business. And I guess he maybe was like a silent partner or something like that, and kind of like went away from that to have more like a stable life or something. But he was still in the business 100%. I think just someone else was running it as CEO and he was like owner or something.
Yep.
But it was epic. So like that was kind of like my first taste of like, oh, okay. Like first I learned about psychology. Now I see this business guy and he's like right in front of me, like that's pretty cool. But I'm like, I could never do that. You know what I mean? So it's always these like reinforcing things of like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to college, get a job. And then it got to a point where when I was working my job, I would go to my boss, and I was working at a cell phone store, and I would basically give like recommendations and stuff that we need to do. Like, hey, here's an inefficient way that we're doing something right now. I want to do it this way because I'm the manager of the store, so I should be able to like run it how I want. And they're like, well, that's against our protocol and this and that. And it wasn't like anything bad. Like it wasn't dumb or anything. It was just like, that's just not how we do things.
Yeah.
And they would say, that's a good idea. We just don't do it that way. And I'm like, well, why won't you let me execute it on it if you say, if you say it's a good idea, I might as well do it. And they're like, no. So I just got tired of that after a while. And then I got my old boss actually left the company. And then I have a new one come in. And within 2 weeks, this guy basically writes me up twice. And I'd been there for like a couple years and never been written up ever. So on the third write-up, you get fired. So I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to like basically weed everybody out.
Yeah.
And he wrote me up for like dumb things. I'm just like, seriously? So, he wrote me up, and then I basically just quit that job because I knew what he was trying to do. He was just trying to, get me fired or whatever.
Yeah.
And then actually a little bit before that, I actually quit school. So like I basically quit school and my job kind of around the same time. And the only way that I was able to do that was actually there was somebody in my life at the time that convinced me to do so. And it was a really interesting conversation that I feel like, all entrepreneurs that are in like my position where it's like they're not used to entrepreneurship, it's not a normal thing, where someone comes to you and they kind of like slap you in the face almost, like metaphorically, and they say, hey, you're not happy with what you're doing right now, you need to get on this path. And I was still resisting. I was like, hey, like that's scary, I'm doubtful of my abilities, all these different things. And they would say, well, you go to college every day and you don't actually like do the work. Like I was passing all my classes and it was fine. It was just that in class I would be on my laptop researching other things and not invested in class to the point where the history, like it's a pretty big class, and I was in the back and the history teacher saw that I was never paying attention. So then the history teacher actually called me out one time and was like, hey, can you close your laptop and pay attention? And I actually said no. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Like I'm paying attention. And he's like, okay, whatever. He didn't want to make a scene. But then I continued to not pay attention to the class and just do my own work. Yeah. And I was probably, looking at something media or marketing related. I just didn't really know where to take it at that time. I didn't really have like a direction. I was just learning a bunch of stuff because it was really, I was really passionate about it.
Yep.
So then the psychology part of it turned into more interest in like marketing and all these things. But I've been doing media and marketing stuff since I was like 13, 14.
Yeah.
But again, no like direction. Like it was just for fun. So then when it came to the point of, okay, I'm quitting college, and my parents were so mad. Like,
were they?
So mad.
And how far were you in when you?
I was about 2 years in. So like basically, yeah. Well, so when I started, I was like 17, barely just turned 18, and then started college, and then I was like, no, actually I think about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I stopped.
Got it.
Almost 2 years. But my parents were like, what are you doing? Like, like you haven't even passed community college yet. And you're already like not having it.
They wanted to know your plan.
And they're like, what's your plan? And I was like, well, just not this one. Like, I don't know. So then after just realizing that wasn't good, I just had to take like the backlash from my parents of like, and my mom like believed, but at the same time was like, what, like she believed me, but it kind of was like blind. Like she didn't really know what I was doing. She was just like, oh, okay, like I believe in you to figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
And then my dad was just straight like, no, like this is not okay. This is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand, because that's like how all parents are. They want to go to college to have a backup plan and stuff. And I totally got that. But I also was like, this is gonna be a waste of time. So it was like fights and stuff like that. But eventually I was just like, yep, dropped out. And then I got I basically left my job, and then I had like really nothing to really go to at that point. And then I kind of just like, well, actually about a month or two before I quit, I was kind of starting to get into like more into the entrepreneurship thing. So then I started looking at like old website domain names I had and stuff, and kind of like business ideas. I kind of wrote some stuff together, but I never like, again, executed on it. Yeah. And then when I basically left my job, that was like the final point of like, okay, I have nothing going on in my life right now. It's just like in the way of like, education or work. So I was like, all right, let me do this. So then I started working for free for different clients that I found through like my network and people that like I knew. And I worked for free for the clients for like a really long time.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best way to get going.
It is. And so long that it was like, let's see. So I'm trying to think. I think I worked for free for at least like 9 months or something like that. Crazy. Like, and I was doing all the marketing. Yeah. So like basically I had, I think like 3 or 4 people I was working with on a monthly basis to do their website design, SEO, and ads all at once. And I was doing it all for free. And I was also, I treated it though as if it was like a paid client.
Yeah.
Like I was freaking out every day of like, how am I going to get them results? They're trusting me with like all this type of stuff. And then I was getting them results probably about 2 or 3 months in, but I didn't really, it's kind of weird. I didn't really like put the pieces together, because the clients that I had at the time would be like, oh yeah, everything's going great, and like they would never tell me like the exact details, and I never found out until about like 8 or 9 months in. They're like, oh yeah, we've been closing like tons of deals and I was like, why didn't you tell me that? And they're like, you never asked, and I'm like, oh yeah.
You're like, I wanted to know that because now.
But I didn't just want to be like, hey, I mean, I guess it's not that bad to do, but I didn't want to just run in there and be like, so is it working or not? Like, you know what I mean? But totally. I probably should have done that. But yeah, so like they were getting leads from the website with like organic SEO and doing Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that. And their website was converting. So it's like everything was going well. And for about that like 9 months. And then I asked a couple of them like, hey, it looks like what we're doing is working and stuff like that. Can you go ahead and pay me now? And then they were just like, yeah, like you deserve it. Nice. So awesome. Like usually like if that happens, they're kind of like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, usually they're kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that because they were getting it for free before. But I guess like I was just getting good enough results that they're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and pay you. You'll manage everything. They started upping the budgets. It got more serious.
Very nice.
And then that's when I really started freaking out because now I'm like, I am now having money go into my pocket. Now I'm like super responsible for the results. And at that point, like literally freaking out every single day and like trying a bunch of different things to try and get it to work. And I already knew a lot of like the concepts and information on like how to do marketing and stuff like that because of all the psychology that I learned and all the books that I've read. But that was when like the practical experience started to happen. And then that's when I got like really good. And to this point, I haven't really had any clients that haven't like had good results because that's kind of how I treat it. Every time I get a client, I'm like, dude, I got to do anything to like, to make this happen. So that's how I got started in entrepreneurship. It was kind of just along the way, so much like trial and error. And it's so scary because my personality type is a personality type that is more of a strategist. So like I don't like to execute on things then think about them. I have to think about them before I do them. So a lot of people get like analysis by paralysis or whatever. I treat that as a strong suit where I'm like, dude, I'm going to think about every single possible scenario that could go wrong and make sure I have like like backup plans or whatever. So then that's also probably why it took so long to start like charging people is because I wanted to make sure I had every little T crossed. And then when I did, I was like, okay, I'm confident enough to start charging people. But it was a long road of having to learn accounting, legal stuff, how to do proper marketing, reading more books on psychology, getting to know people's businesses that I'd never heard of before. Like I've never heard, like I work with a chemical company right now, and it's like I still don't even really know what they do. Like I'm still like I kind of know for like keyword analysis and SEO and different things like that. But if you were to ask me like what do they do, I'm like I have no idea. Like you know what I mean? Like I just know
them results.
Exactly. I just know the basics. All I need to know. And now it's been going great. So like I don't know. I'm loving life.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, based off of that, what would you say is some of the hardest things about entrepreneurship, and what would you recommend people that are stuck on their path of what they want to do?
I would say the hardest thing about entrepreneurship is just like the self-doubt and mental battle, because anybody can be an entrepreneur and like do what they're gonna do, but to take a skill that you have or a product that you're like believe in and then be able to put it on the market, sell it and market it, and then also handle the fulfillment and all the back end stuff. It's like you're a one-man team to start out. Totally. And because there's so much like pressure on you and everything, to have that level of self-belief when no one else believes in you. Like when I was starting my business and stuff, again, my parents were like, oh yeah, hopefully it works out, but they were kind of like, you better have a backup plan. So what that means is like, at this current moment, we don't believe in you. You know what I mean? Like, just to be real with it, until you show some type of results. So, and that's also kind of scary because you're like, oh, I have to produce something to show. I mean, you don't really need to show everybody because it's like, doesn't matter really what they think, but you always want to show people like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then people will believe in you, and that'll help your confidence and success. But that's like definitely the hardest thing that I had to go through, because when it comes down to it, like every single day is a different little battle that you have to do. So like I would wake up and be like, oh, okay, I have this little problem that I need to solve, and I would solve that problem. But then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, like I just charged a client oh, but now I got to do accounting. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, how do I do that?
One learning curve.
And then I got to, I got to
Yeah.
get a CPA I can trust. And then, oh, wait, like, you know, I just had a meeting with a client. Now I need to draft up a contract. Like, you know, and it's just so crazy. So there's all these little problems that you have to keep, like, just chipping away at. And that's kind of what I think entrepreneurship and, like, just anything that you're passionate about, you're just chipping away at it, like, every single day.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're going backwards.
Totally.
But that chipping away part is the hardest thing, because like every new problem that comes up, you kind of just get like brought down like a little bit. Like it's like life just like punches you a little bit, and you're like and then you have to like get back up.
Yep.
So it's like resistance training. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just resistance that's constantly there, and it never lets up. And then you're like, okay, you just got to get with the program. And then eventually that becomes your new normal, and then you can handle a higher level of, you know, resistance. So it's a lot like fitness, I guess, but that is definitely the hardest part. Is just
I
the daily
agree.
work.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was starting, I had no one to go to. My parents were pretty chill. I mean, they wanted me to have a plan. They knew I was interested in media, but I didn't have any direction. There was no, you know, mentors that I had. You know, I started college, and I originally I was gonna go to school for special effects for movies, but
George Lucas in the making.
yeah, right. And so I was going to school, and that's when I just realized I was like, man, I can start something. I was just I got that entrepreneurial like passion first semester of college, and then when I landed the position with the marketing company, you know, I was learning some business aspects from him, and that's when I was like, okay, I think I can do this on my own. But, you know, once I got things going, then the self-doubt kicked in. I'm like, man, this is tough. But I, you know, one step after the other, you know, 3 years later, ended up working out.
There you go. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know how you hear the statistic, like 9 out of 10 businesses fail?
Yeah.
And they say it's because of like, lack of capital and like the profits and like all this, you know, technical stuff. I think that the starting point is just like the self-belief or something, because so many people, and I probably want to get into it a little bit on the podcast because I love talking about this. It's like 50% business, 50%, I don't even want to call it mindset. It's like deeper than that. Like I just call it identity because it's so deep, where it's like the 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I don't think because of like profits and all that type, or I mean they do technically, but those problems come because of lack of confidence and all these other things, lack of resourcefulness or whatever, and the business owner just doesn't put in that work to really like make it happen. Except for right now, obviously we have a pandemic, you know, whole thing going on. So like that's like different. But like when this stuff isn't going on, if someone can't succeed right now, it's usually because of something within themselves, if they don't believe and they don't try hard enough or whatever it is. So yeah,
Totally. Well, what does the road ahead look like for your company and your vision?
I would say doubling down on just what we're doing. Like that, I see a lot of businesses try to expand into like a bunch of different things, and then it just, you know, what was it? Jack of all trades, master of none, that type of thing. So it's like I'm really doubling down on like when we first started, we did every service in the book, and it was like stressful because I'm like, I've got to run an ad and then check the ROI, and then I've got to post on their thing, and then I've got to make sure their search rankings are on point. Like it's like so many different things. So now I've kind of scaled that to like a system where it's like, okay, I can, you know, track all that stuff, and it's like easier to manage. But doubling down on primarily what we like to focus on is advertising, because like when you just pay money to go ahead and get attention and you have a good offer, it's easy to convert that attention to money. Like it's like a very simple system. But then the only reason we have SEO and website design as like our ancillary services is because we noticed that when we were sending traffic to people's websites, they either weren't converting, like their website was really bad. So then it's like, I can send all the traffic in the world, it's not going to work. Or usually for, you know, different, you know, Google search ads and stuff like that, it's a really good idea to have your SEO on point, so you have all the proper keywords on there, so Google will pick it up and your quality score will increase because it sees that page is like relevant to those keywords, and it'll actually show those ads. So I'm like, okay, you know, if you're running Google ads to a website that isn't relevant, like, you know, to Google organically, it's probably not going to show those ads to as many people, and your results are going to go down. So it's like it's not 100% a requirement, but usually you need to have your SEO on point as well. So I was like, okay, SEO and the website is the foundational piece that needs to like work, and then you put advertising on top of that, and then it's going to go ahead and like basically be a profitable system, but I needed to add those other things. So for me, it's like, okay, doubling down on the advertising and doubling down on who we're trying to help. So like basically high ticket service businesses. If it's like, if you only profit like $20 per sale of your service, it's probably not a good idea to run marketing or Facebook ads and hire an agency and all type of stuff until you have some type of super scalable system where you can squeeze every penny out of it. Yep. But we try to work with high ticket service businesses just because it's just like, it's a lot more profitable for them to do marketing because they have higher margins.
And what are some of those?
It can literally be anything: plastic surgeon, chiropractor, dentist, like the typical kind of high ticket service businesses. Yep. Even, ones you wouldn't even think of. Like again, the environmental company I'm working with right now, they sell things that are literally like $1 million. You know what I mean? So, and it's like, if we can, like, they're happy with literally paying like $1,000 to acquire a customer because they get, what I mean? They crazy. Yeah. We're getting insane return on investment for them. It's like,
sure.
Because like their clientele is companies like, Chevron and like just huge, massive, environmental related companies. Yeah. So then like, all we need to do is put their marketing in front of people that work at those companies, and they're good eventually. So it's just like we really want to focus on the results of the clients, making sure they're like super good, so they talk about us, and we've gotten a bunch of referrals, which is like really awesome. Just like kind of speaks for itself. Yep. And then also just narrowing down on that and like just systemizing it even more. I'm a really big like systems guy, so the more I can like automate things or just make it like super easy or scalable, the better. So I'm just keep working on that, keep getting more clients, and then like basically every time we get a new client, it's kind of like a different industry. Like we've worked with like 19 different industries at this point, so maybe I should narrow down just like a little bit, but I've found that as narrow as I want to go is like high ticket service business. Like I think that's narrow enough to where it's like, okay, they all have the same methodology, which is like, okay, you solve a problem that is urgent. You know what I mean? Like certain ones aren't urgent. Like a plastic surgeon isn't necessarily urgent if it's like cosmetic, but a lot of people that go into a plastic surgeon, most people don't realize this, like it's not really cosmetic. Like it is some type of issue where they had a car accident and they need to like, get surgery. So it's like, I like working on those businesses that have urgency behind them. They have a good offer. If you look them up online, they have like good reviews and good customer service. I don't care how much money you're going to pay me if you don't have like a good system or foundation set up where you care about your clients. I don't want to work with you because it's just going to be a waste of time. Yeah. I'm going to send clients to you and then they're going to hate it. They're not going to come back. And then that business owner is probably also not like the the best type of person or whatever. If they have bad reviews and everything. So. Yeah, it's just like working on all that type of stuff and systemizing it, and then just double down, narrow down, just keep again like chipping away, like I was saying earlier. Yeah. And then I do want to add additional kind of services that are really scalable. So I've talked about doing this for a while, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it. But I have done for you services right now where I take over your marketing and like agency basically does your advertising, SEO, and website design for you if you need it. And then I want to do like a done with you type of program to where sometimes there's businesses that already have an in-house team, and they talk to me and they're like, well, our in-house team is already trained for that. I don't think that they would do it the same way because like usually like it's so funny how many times businesses come to me and they're like, hey, what strategy should we do? And I'm like, so you're telling me you have an in-house marketing team that does everything that like we do, but you don't have a Facebook pixel on your website. Like, I'm just so confused. I'm like, so either they don't know what's going on or, like, you are just not familiar with, like, what they should be doing. That's also why I don't think you should outsource anything until you are educated somehow. Like, if a business owner doesn't know about a Facebook pixel, like, if they don't know what that is, do not hire someone. Figure out what that is first, and then be like, and then the right questions to ask an agency of, like, oh, okay, how would you use a Facebook pixel, in retargeting to make sure that we get more customers on the back end. Then if the agency can't answer that, they're not a good agency to work with. Yep. So it's like, just figuring out all that type of stuff, and then adding on the done for you or done with you thing where it's like I can consult with them. Like I could do like a 2-day training thing where it's like the first day could be like marketing and the second day could be like sales or something like that. I've been trying to figure out like a consulting package where I can come into your business, consult, and like kind of train people and then leave, and then you're good. Wow. So but that's for like much bigger businesses. It's going to be like a very expensive package. So I'm going to fly out to your office and all that type of stuff.
Totally.
And then do it yourself type of option. So like if I want to, so the done
So like
with you.
training kind of.
Yeah, so the done with you thing is like I come over there and I work on your custom problem, you know, whatever it is, and I solve it. And like I'm such a systems guy that I actually enjoy kind of playing around with things and tweaking stuff until the system and the operation is like perfect. So it's like it's almost like marketing and sales training, but then also like borderline like operations and like administrative stuff on like how to seamlessly like make everything your sales process go really well. But the do it yourself is I want to have that option for businesses that can't quite afford me yet. Okay. And I've had multitudes of, you know, business owners that like, you know, make, I don't know, maybe like $5,000 a month or something like that. They're still kind of like getting started. And then they're like, hey, we want to hire you, you know, to do our marketing and stuff. And I'm like, well, like you're not necessarily at a point right now to where it'd be profitable for you to do that until probably, you know, later when you have more revenue and stuff.
Yep.
So then I want to have like, not necessarily like an inexpensive option that's like super cheap or something like that, but I want to have an option that's like right price, and then I have information in there of how they can do their marketing themselves. Maybe not quite as good as me because they're not
get them on their feet a little bit.
Exactly. So get them to a certain point, and then they can hire me. So I don't know if I'm the do it yourself option is something that like is going to take a long time, and like I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to do that, because that's kind of like training someone how to do my business without me doing it. And I like to be, you know,
in control a little bit.
Well, not that. It's like I like to be extremely in depth with everything, so I am going to teach you exactly how to run my business. So you could go start a marketing company after I, you know, teach you everything. I always get that when I do like presentations and speeches. Like people are just like, bro, that like I actually had someone tell me one time it was like water. It was like drinking water through a fire hose, and I was like, oh, I need to slow down a little bit or just simplify it, because it was just so much information in like 45 minutes. Which I'm happy about, and I love doing that. But some people are like, can you just give me the cliff notes? So it's kind of funny. But I want to expand into that, and then definitely expand it into sales training. It's something I've been wanting to do for like a long time. And again, that would more have to do with like the done with you package. But it's like when I teach or when I do marketing for a business, like if the website's converting and the SEO's on point and the ads are on point, like everything's good, but then your rep or your receptionist or whoever it is, like when the person calls on the phone, if you mess it up, then it's like, you know, if your conversion rate is 1 out of 100, or when you actually get on the phone, it doesn't matter what your conversion rate on your website is. It's like you still can't close deals. So I've kind of found that to be like the final piece of the puzzle, where I'm like, okay, why, you know, I see these other businesses that like have their SEO on point, their website design on point, and their ads are really good, but then all of a sudden COVID hits and they're dead. And I'm like, how have you, like within like a couple months, I'm like, how does that happen? It's like, oh, it's because they have all this stuff set up, but then their people are not trained well enough to actually like how to close deals and even do cold calling or whatever else they'd possibly need to do. But that's the final piece, is like the sales training. And I feel like in 2020, we're in a different type of sales environment where the customer is super, you know, up to date and basically on everything. They've researched you before they even came to you. So you can't do, and I never say you should do like old school sales tactics in the first place, but regardless if you want to or not, you can't really do that. Like if you walk on a car lot, like the person already knows exactly what the price is, and it's unnegotiable. Like the person, like they'll just be like, oh, I'll just go to the other car dealership. You know what I mean? The internet has like commoditized everything. So then if someone doesn't do it for the right price, or not even the right price, but the right value, like, you know, it's like, okay, maybe at this car dealership I pay a little bit more, but I'm not getting that extra value or the premium service or whatever it is. They know that because they can go research everything. So that's something that's like extremely important, is building a brand, like as well, for people to do. But customer service. I mean, if you have good customer service, you might be able to land someone if you're, you know, really good. But I went to a car dealership, and you know, you walk in and there's some guys that are just like, like, is this your first day?
Like, dude, you're not even like trying to sell me. Like, you're not even being cool. Like, I'm just gonna move on. Like, I want to work with someone that, you know, I like.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of comes down to just questions, right? So like what I've noticed is the best way of selling is just asking different questions, and it's so transparent and like authentic. And if the person doesn't want to work with you, then like that's fine, but you still handle the objections and all that type of stuff. But it just kind of comes down to like, can they afford it? Are they your target customer? Do you like their personality? And just are they a good fit in general? Like, you know what I mean? Because like I don't like working with clients that I don't like personality wise. You know what I mean? Like I just because it's just not a good fit. Stress. Like they're exactly. It's like everybody's had those clients that are just like a pain to deal with, and it's like nobody wants those, right? Yep. So that's like a big thing. So you never want to take on clients that you don't really vibe with personally. And it doesn't have to be like an exact fit. It's just that like it can't be negative. Like you can't be in the red. The other thing is can they afford it? That's always like a huge thing. Obviously, when it comes to marketing and media stuff, is like is this business there yet? And then do they trust you to actually like solve the problem, all that type of stuff. So when you ask them certain questions, you show a level of understanding their problem better than they do. And then when you ask certain questions, you kind of just guide them to the close. And then you're like, okay, like when would you like to start? And they're like, okay, like they either say yes or no. Like it's so like different from like 20 years ago when people tried to do all this like shady stuff, and car dealerships still try to do that. So it's just there's been a whole shift, and especially with COVID and everything like that, it's like people are buying things online now, and you can't even go into a store to buy stuff. So then it's like
who knows how that's gonna change once this is all over. What's a lot less people are going to be going in and buying stuff in stores now. I mean,
I think it's going to get to a point where like car dealership people or salespeople are just going to be on like Zoom calls and just be like, hey, here's your car. Like, I mean, they're already doing that. I've seen car dealers or salespeople on FaceTime with people, and they're like, do you want to buy this?
You know what I mean?
Features, exactly. And then the person buys literally on the phone. They send them via email or whatever. I don't think there's any real documents they have to sign in person. They could just e-sign everything. So I've seen it work. So marketing and all that type of stuff is super important, and I'm sitting in a good position right now where I'm like, okay, everybody needs it. What I got. So it's awesome.
Yep, I'm on the same boat. I mean, if you have any last remarks for anybody that I know we touched on a little bit earlier, stuck, but one of the things is investing time into building relationships. If you want to touch on that, just any last remarks you have for people.
This is super important. So building relationships, I didn't really invest in like my time and like effort into like trying to build a mass amount of relationships. I'm more of a person that like, has, close circle and stuff like that. But within the past year or so, I've realized how powerful it can be to where people are reaching out to me like, every week with different offers for things of like, hey, like I noticed you do this, can you help this? It's just like out of nowhere someone will message me and say, can you help me with marketing or media or whatever it is, and I haven't talked to them in like months. So it's the power of like social media and building a brand. And like building a brand, I feel like is such a convoluted term sometimes, and like business owners don't really understand what it means. Like really what it comes down to is like, what is your reputation with the people that are aware of your existence? You know what I mean? So it's like, people know me as the marketing and media guy or whatever. So then they say, like when they're thinking, they're like, oh, we need help with like generating leads. Who can we go to? Oh yeah, Eric's agency can help us with that. So then like they just think of us like that. So it's like the more content that you put out will basically organically grow that. And then if you add ads and SEO and website design like behind it, it's like the ultimate like marketing thing. And then because people are doing the research, they're kind of selling themselves 75% of the way before they even come to you. Like that's, people think that the internet and all this stuff has like destroyed marketing and sales, and it's like no, it's only destroyed like bad companies that like suck. If you're a good company that has good quality service, products, whatever it is, good team, and you have a good offer, like you're just a solid business, then the marketing and stuff helps you because they'll do all their research. They'll look at your competitors. They'll say, oh, like your competitors aren't as good as you, and they'll come to you. It's the ultimate natural selection of like business and entrepreneurship. Is just the internet has just weeded out everybody because it's all exposed. Like if you go and look at reviews, I mean, obviously not all reviews are good. Like, there's a huge, notion, or what's the right word? I don't even know what the right word is, but like on Yelp, a lot of Yelp reviews are like just nonsense. You know what I mean? Like someone, like I've seen Yelp reviews to where they've never even been to that place, and it's just a competitor going on there making a fake Yelp account and writing a bunch of bad reviews.
I hate Yelp so much. By the
Yelp
way.
is the worst thing. They're actually They're actually in a lawsuit. I don't know if it's over now, but they were in a lawsuit for extortion. And there's a mini documentary of it on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Don't kill me, Yelp. Don't hire assassins. No, I'm kidding. But no, they were because you have to pay so much money to do certain things, and it's
ridiculous.
Yeah, they run the whole like review space right now, so it's almost like a monopoly. So people were saying it's extortion somehow for like, oh, you want to, do this on your Yelp page, you have to pay us this crazy amount of money.
Yeah. Well, you have to upgrade. You get these reviews. So I was advertising with them for a little bit, and I had these reviews, and then I was like, oh, I'm not getting very good results, so I stopped. And then my reviews, I had like 10, 12, whatever was on there, and then there was only 2 showing, and they weren't even like the best reviews that I had. I'm like, what is up with this? And then Yelp goes and they call me and they're like, oh, well, you want to start advertising with us again? I'm like, no, I'm okay. And by the way, what's up with these reviews? And they said, oh, you have to advertise with us again before we
they
show those.
They have that little section where it's like, this review's not recommended. I'm like, why?
Well, if it's on there, it's obviously
and it's not like a brand, because I've seen if people have brand new Yelp accounts and they try and review you, it'll be like not recommended.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I've seen these established Yelp accounts and it's like, this review's not recommended.
And they're so
and I'm like, that's kind of fishy. So yeah, Yelp is horrible. The CDO is like super greedy. And I'm glad that they're in that lawsuit. So it's like I usually don't say that, but like they're bad. They're like you know what they're like? They're like the internet mafia. That's what they are. They're the internet mafia, and you have to like. Oh, that's super funny. So like when you watch like Godfather or something like that, or the mafia movies, it's like the mafia will come to like your business and like protect you, right? And you have to pay them on like the monthly basis. That's exactly what Yelp is doing. They're like, if you want us to protect you in your business's reputation, you have to pay us money. It's like, whoa. Okay. I'm gonna call them the Yelp mafia from now on.
No, that's funny. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but just building a reputation in general and like networking with people has been like amazing, because you never like one thing that was really cool was like I didn't think that like when I see like I okay, how do I explain this? The amount of entrepreneurs that are like-minded, I didn't know there was so many of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like I know there was like business people and stuff like that, but like when you actually start talking to a lot of these different businesses, you kind of think that they're a certain way, and then you're like, oh, like you're actually more you're normal, like you're like it was hard
for our minds.
It was hard to like wrap my hand around that of like, oh, you're just a normal person just doing a business. Like when I go to these like networking mixers and stuff like that, and I see and this isn't like a disrespectful thing, I actually like seeing this when I see like a lawyer or something like that you would think be like kind of uptight and kind of like Mr. Corporate or something like that, and he's just like letting loose on the dance floor or something like that, or just like going crazy, like doing whatever he wants, saying whatever he wants to say and being like a fun person. It's like, oh yeah, you're a real human being, like you're not just like some uptight corporate guy, you know what I mean? So it's like it makes me feel like I can be a little bit more myself, because I know that everybody else is. So it's like it's just really cool to see that, and like networking with everybody has been like awesome. And it's like I see a lot of business owners try to not put their personal life out there as much, and nowadays building a personal brand is so important.
That's huge,
that it's like it's going to help your customers connect with you like a lot. So putting your family out there, I mean, you don't always like have to do that. Some people like to keep it private, but like putting everything out there that you can, that like you want to, is going to help you close more deals, because they're going to connect with you as opposed to this competitor that is like, again, Mr. Super uptight corporate guy.
Like, so I'm good. I don't want to get into that.
Exactly. Like I mean, just the fact that I like Chipotle. Like if I say that enough times, people are going to be like, oh, I love Chipotle too. Like let's go get Chipotle. Let's go get Chipotle and talk marketing. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then just the power of social media, man, is like amazing, where it's like, so I'm trying to build my YouTube presence, right? And I do get like certain, leads and stuff like that from my YouTube videos, and, because I do like marketing related content. But now, so I upgraded the level of my quality of video, which should be, maybe this is like a little mini testimonial right now, or how good content is. So I had like average, like mediocre quality of videos, but the content was really good. So then I kept the same level of content, where it was like still like really hard hitting stuff that's like getting straight to the point. But then I upgraded the quality of the video, so it looks like really good, and I use my Sony camera now.
Nice.
And now I'm starting to get more affluent people coming to me, because I have an affluent look to my videos, which is like, okay, this is an upscale kind of like luxury look. So then this is a person, and I'm around that stuff all the time anyway. So I'm like, why would I just record a little video on my laptop, when I could actually like go to like a cool spot that I'm already at, and then just record videos there. So then when that started happening, I have people that, are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, like watching my videos and be like, hey, I saw your copywriting video. I actually want to get on the phone with you and like do business. And I'm like, and it's like right away. I'm like, dang. Nice. So I had a call like that the other day, which was really cool. But people underestimate the power of social media and like just building a brand and everything. And it's so much easier to network on social media because in the past you'd have, your little chamber of commerce or something like that. Now you have the whole world at your disposal. You can connect with like anybody. Yep. So marketing, ads, building a personal brand, extremely important in the way of like business, in the way of just like life in general, because I kind of want to like go over to that a little bit because I love talking about that stuff. Yeah. The identity aspect of, because there's so much craziness going on in the world right now, people are having identity crises. They're having just all like inner turmoil because they're forced to just be with themselves. Yeah. Like right now, and like it's not quarantine necessarily anymore, but like because of the isolation, because of all the different things that are happening, people are questioning themselves, which is good because that's like you have to question currently what you're doing to like grow it all. Yeah. So then but it kind of puts people in a certain like negative downward spiral too if they're not really succeeding or being going where they want to go, with the business or relationships or whatever it is. But identity is like such an important thing to focus on right now, because you have time. Because if you're off work, because you're collecting, unemployment right now during this whole pandemic thing, then you need to sit there and just by yourself, no distractions, no TikTok, none of this, no like, basically self-medicating with all these different things. You just sit there with yourself and think about like, what is my identity and who do I want to be? And it's not a fake it till you make it thing. It's like you really dive deep and you're like, what if I was to like a video game character, what would I be? Like do I have a 10 strength? Do I have a 10 perception? Like whatever it is.
To that 100 level.
Exactly. Like treat your life like an RPG game or something like that. Yeah. And just start crafting who you actually want to be. And it's not a fake it till you make it thing. Like if you know that you value, loyalty or something like that, you need to put that out there a lot of like, because when you start like putting that vibe out there, it's almost kind of like, this is kind of like hippie talk almost, but it's like subconscious where it's like you'll start attracting the people that you are if you constantly put it out there. And again, with social media, you can grow that and you will have like an audience or even fan base, if you want to call it that, of people that are just like you and can like move your mission forward, like whatever it is. So identity is huge. And I would say, just start with putting on a piece of paper who you are right now, and then who you want to be, and then just like start making the connections of actions to take. So like currently, person A, which is, a person currently, it doesn't have a work ethic or isn't disciplined. Like this is a huge thing that I see in like the entrepreneurship community is like, I don't have time, or I don't feel motivated to go do whatever. It's like, okay, no work ethic, no discipline. Why don't you have that? And then this is when it gets into like childhood development, which is also a huge topic I love talking about, which is like you don't have work ethic and you don't have discipline because no one ever instilled confidence in you enough to be able to be disciplined or have the work ethic to go after like what you want because you don't think you can get it in the first place. Yeah. It's like Think and Grow Rich 101 where your childhood sets you up for whatever you're in right now. And it's not 100% just like your parents or something like that. It's also like,
environment.
Environment and all that type of stuff. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like if you can see where person A, aka who you are right now, where that connects like in the past to like make you that, then it gives you a better strategy to make you into person B of who you want to be. Because if you are now aware that like, my parents or whatever it is, this person's parents didn't set them up for success, and and I don't have a work ethic or whatever. Now they can change that and become person B of who's disciplined and wakes up at 7 a.m. every day, or whatever they're trying to do. Runs marathons every single month. Yeah, exactly. So it's just identity is just so important, and I like to call it that as opposed to mindset, because mindset is like a temporary thing of like, what is my mindset at the moment? Like it's just a fleeting thing, just like happiness. Like happiness, everybody's trying to go for that. It's more about deep inner fulfillment and content, and like people call it enlightenment. And like enlightenment to me is basically just acceptance just acceptance of what is happening in life right now, and just kind of detaching from like an outcome and just being fulfilled with what you currently have, but then striving for more. That's like my whole, that whole kind of woo-woo talk thing. But it's like you need to make your identity like that, because even if you do get your work ethic and your discipline and all this type of stuff, then you still might not be happy or fulfilled. So like, again, this person B that you're going to write down of like who you exactly want to be, it needs to be every little thing of like, I would even go down to like your weekly schedule, like what type of partner you want to have, the top 5 friends in your life. What are they like? Like I would almost write like a business plan for yourself, like as a person. Yeah. So I think that, that's all super important stuff, and it's all stuff that I've been working on for like a long time.
That's awesome.
And I'm starting to like share it a little bit more now because I'm getting clarity on how to like articulate it correctly. Because there's just some things that like you can't really explain until like you see it enough times, or like you do it enough times to be like, okay, like I get how to tell it. Like, Einstein says if you can't explain it to like a 5th grader, you can't you can't teach it. So it's like I'm trying to get it to that level so I can teach it. And ultimately why I want to teach it is like, so eventually I do want to come out with some type of training program, but I don't want it to be like super hype markety like all the internet gurus and stuff like that. I want it to be like an actual training program. And this is where I don't know, like I was saying earlier, if I want it like the do it yourself thing, I don't know if it's going to be like sold to businesses or if I'm going to try and do a consumer type of program thing where it's like I want to teach people how to start their own service businesses. And I see all the internet gurus and stuff, like the thing that I see that's not happening in the marketplace is not teaching people that identity aspect because they're so close. Like your identity and your business are like the same thing. Like if you don't identify as a 7-figure business owner, you will never get there. And it's not the fake it till you make it thing. It's just like, do you think you have the capability to get to that point? Basic stuff we read in all the personal development books. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing some type of service business program where I teach people how to do that, because nowadays with, a bunch of people being unemployed from like COVID and stuff, I think people are just looking for opportunities to like do something themselves, and they're not even trying to be a millionaire. They're literally just trying to make 80 grand a year doing like a skill that they love. Like if like, videographer or something like that. So there's probably some guy out there that's like 25 right now or whatever that would love to do a service business but doesn't have a exact plan on how to do it, and not just like the tactics of business, because you can go like look that stuff up. It's like a comprehensive plan and also some type of like accountability thing. That's a huge thing I see that none of the gurus have, is some type of accountability system to where every single month we're going to check in and figure out where did you slack, where did you do well, and it's going to get, like I'm trying to figure out this whole like kind of program thing on like a monthly basis of how I can take people from 0 to starting a service business, and then of course selfishly work with them on the marketing side. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
And that's gonna be like a one-on-one, right? It's not gonna be like an online course.
Well, so this is the thing. I think it's gonna be so one-on-one. To me, I don't. So one-on-one is kind of a weird thing for me, because I feel like when people do one-on-one stuff, it's a lot like therapy. So basically the person comes to you with a problem, and then it's like, oh yeah, like, here's the stuff, and then the person telling them is like, here's what you need to do, and then the person never does it. So like, and then they come back with the same issue every single time, and then the person that's teaching them eventually just like doesn't care anymore, and then just the therapist is just taking your money and being like, you're just never gonna change. Fine. But if you have a group environment, which is like a bunch of other people, like, so it's kind of like a blend between like an online course and some type of weekly or monthly, I still don't know how I'm going to do all this. Accountability thing. So now it's like there's people in the group that are helping each other out, of like, this person has one type of service business, this other person has a different type of service business, and they can be like accountability partners.
Yeah, that's huge.
And then every single month there'll be like check-ins. So maybe you have to fill out like a document or something that says, here's how many, like literally down to like everything of like, here's how many clients I contacted this week. This is how many deals I closed. This is how many hours I put into hiring, like just everything. Because like, I feel like that's a huge thing, is accountability when it comes to like all these business programs and stuff, and none of them have it. And if it's on a monthly basis, then there's incentive also from any like teacher, right? Because like, this is like, for any gurus out there that happen to be listening to this, like anyone that does a course, it's like, if you charge someone $1,000 and then they watch the course and then they're like, you're not going to continue training them. They already paid you like that one time. But if it's on a different model where it's like you're incentivized on a monthly basis to go to help them, then it's just like a better model, because then you'll be willing to help them more because they're continuing to pay you. So it's kind of like my monthly retainer clients with my agency. It's like, obviously I have incentive to work with them every month because they're paying me every month. And then they're getting results every single month. So it's like, it's a win-win relationship. So I'm going to see if I can come out with that maybe in the next like year or two. I'm still kind of skeptical if I want to start that, because I feel like a lot of people aren't meant to start a business. So it'd be like a really hard process to try and weed people out. Like I'd almost have to get on the phone with
everyone coming in.
Yeah, like that's another problem I see with the course business. They just let everybody in there, and like, none of them get results, or not none of them, but like the majority of them never make it. So it's like I almost want to get on the call with like someone and be like weed them out before I
be like, all right, I can work with you. Yep.
Exactly. So I'm still figuring that out, but I want to just help people in the service business industry, whether they have one or not, or they want to start one, and just grow it and like just help. Like I've always been so about marketing and media, and it's just come to me like naturally, and I've just been passionate about it. And now that I get to work on it like every single day, it's like I just love life. And not every little thing I love. It's like you kind of have to like just realize that there's these little things that add up to your ultimate success, and you kind of just have to like, again, chip away at those, and then eventually you get like the result and stuff. Yep. But fall in love with the process.
Yep, totally. Yeah, that's awesome. So where can people find you online?
They can find me at youtube.com/ericrebelo. It's ERICREBELO. And then same thing on Instagram. I do have TikTok. That might be banned in America. Yeah, I don't even know what's going to happen. That's Eric J. Rebelo. And I just do marketing, media, personal branding, just entrepreneurship, content in general, just a bunch of different stuff, because I like making content about a bunch of different things, because I don't like to be like a one-trick pony. So if you watch all my content, like you'll get a better idea of how to market your business, how to start a business. If you don't even want to work with my agency, you'll still get some value out of it. And if there's any people that do want to work with my agency, you can hit me up on there too, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Sweet. That's the Visionary Mindset Podcast, episode 1. Stay tuned for some more.
Episode 1 done.